These are the locomotives of the LMM fleet, a collection of vintage diesel shunting engines. In this series, we delve into the world of railway heritage, showcasing the highs, the lows, and the sheer effort involved in repairing, maintaining, and restoring these icons of the industrial age. Join Lawrie and the team of knowledgeable experts and dedicated volunteers, and share the experience of owning and operating a fleet of full-sized locomotives. LMM proudly presents The Locomotive Diaries.
Vintage vehicles can prove quite the challenge when looking for spare parts, and locomotives are no exception, and sometimes those parts just don't exist at all, and so the only way forward is to manufacture brand new shiny replacement parts like these. Enter our friends at Black Stag Engineering, who can make things like this shiny new brake pedal or this lightsaber. And they do absolutely superb work, able to fabricate and machine a wide variety of components for your needs. And they've partnered with us to sponsor this series and help the Rustons move forward. So let's dive in. Or just play with lightsabers. So for information on services they offer and what they can do for you, check out the links in the video description. We're really proud to have them on board as partners, helping to support the LMM fleet. And with that, on with the video. Last time on the Locomotive Diaries, we made 303 even smaller by removing the starter, the fuel pump, and removed a load of grotty looking oil from the engine, and installed new pads to the axle boxes of Ruston 294-266. And a new floor was created and installed in Ruston 281-266, but Matt wasn't finished. There were lots of little things he still had to do, like installing some handles so we could lift the floor to get to the gearbox, and then staining the wood. This took 3 coats to help weatherproof it and stop it going like the floor before it, and looked quite drastically different to how it started out. And before long, both pieces of the floor had been treated and were looking significantly smarter, so all that remained was to install the handle on both of them and screw it down. Once he'd installed one, he could fit the other one to the second piece of floor, and then head over to the Whitwell and Reefern Railway, where quite handily the 165 had been shunted out of the way, meaning Matt had to walk half the length of the site with these new heavy pieces of wood. With them by the locomotive, he could lob the things into the cab and see that if all the measurements that he took and all the bits that had been cut out to accommodate all of the lumps and bumps actually worked. And it turns out that actually it fits. And now we have a complete and safe floor. Moving on to 393-303, and the object of the day was to try and make some progress with the gearbox, because despite my best efforts in coating it all in diesel, it was still pretty seized solid. And whilst I was moving around, things went wrong.
What's that on the floor?
It used to be a bit up here.
That's this just, I happened to pass by this.
Or did it fall apart in your hands?
And it spontaneously combusted.
And the curse is real.
And came off. I was not pulling on this to see how structural it was.
There was a lot of pulling from my perspective.
And then I obviously did not pull it, which then separated that.
Well, at least you can get rid of all the rust.
Well, that's what I thought. See?
That's fine. I can keep doing my thing. You just got to plug back in.
He's about to fill that with rust.
You don't.
It's all right, yeah, we'll just put all of the material off there, straight into those sockets
into the
there.
electrical sockets.
Well, it's good. Rust is conductive.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Try that one.
Following the rapid unscheduled disassembly, I turned my attention to the gearbox before having another mishap.
Where's that been, Lawrie?
Because Jay's been so nice and come given his time to help out with the Ruston, I've decided to protect his tools from going rusty. So I've given this a bath of diesel, which will now soak into it and stop it from going rusty, like the engine.
Oh yes, the copper hammer.
Yep, but I bet you now this won't go rusty.
Having rust-proofed the hammer, we realised that some of the parts I'd removed may not have helped the floor's structural integrity.
Solid as a
piece of paper.
In an attempt to make some progress, Alfie started to disassemble the gearbox, but very quickly got disillusioned with the lack of functioning floor, so decided to improvise.
We got a floor again. Yay for floor.
New floor installed, Alfie began work on unbolting the gearbox top.
I need a smaller socket because it's left rusty.
Thus far, we'd been pleasantly surprised how easily everything had unbolted on 393-303. However, the series of bolts that held the two halves of the gearbox together were a completely different matter, and Alfie found that they fought. None of them wanted to take a socket as they'd all rusted and expanded slightly, so every single one had to have the socket hammered on, use a breaker bar to break it loose, and then a ratchet to get it out.
It's probably not been done this millennia.
I'm sure that the Scrapman was very conscious of what this locomotive was going to do in the future.
It's weird, isn't it, when you care about something and want to say something that's older than you.
Working hard as usual.
Working hard or hardly working?
Second one.
Oh, there's one underneath the selector as well.
And that's the one that is
Crust. Now that one's actually better than the rest of them.
Undeterred, Alfie hammered the socket home over the offending bolt, and without too much effort managed to get it out. Perhaps finally, the job was getting easier. I spoke too soon, because this time the socket refused to let go of the nut, and this one put up more of a fight than actually getting any of them out. But the good news is, that's a good bolt.
That'll go again.
Offending bolt removed, Alfie cracked on as Jay and I discussed the future of the engine and what the next stage was.
The nut came off.
You did? Oh, what? You did.
That is how much that nut has rusted away.
Well done for attaching. As a Megan, that's gone to a imperial or a metric size down, isn't it? Then very convenient that you didn't have to bash that at all within an inch of its life. Well done.
There's only like 3 size sockets smaller.
Bonkers, isn't it? Well done, you. I am impressed. Threading there's good though. That will go again. We'll reuse that. That'll be right. Maybe build it up with a bit of weld. Wind it down.
It was around now that I felt that I should probably do something to actually help with progress.
Lawrie, how do you feel putting all of this effort in to remove your gearbox top?
I've put so much effort in. I feel like I'm really part of the project. That I'm really making it come together.
We're taking it apart. Stop putting it back together.
That's why everybody's getting angry with me.
And also because I kept getting nuts stuck in the socket.
I'm not using it. That's the 5-sided nut.
In order to get the final stud out, we had to remove the gear selector. And that was a bit of a challenge.
Do moldies, do they do the job?
Yeah, but can you expand that to do them back up afterwards?
I don't know.
That's what buying the spares are for.
Afterwards, I'll be able to find what size it is and get a spanner for it.
The answer is it's round. Something's turning. Whether it's the right bit or not, who knows?
Eventually, we managed to remove the selector.
Well, I've got bad news about my
Oh! I don't think it should look like that.
No, they should not. That was left in gear, wasn't it? One plunger in.
Yeah, so that one's half, that one's in, that one's out.
It's not good. Yeah.
So first and second are on the same sort of cam. So as one's in, one will be all the way out. So
Oh, sugar. So that's the same thing, but
Yeah.
when one goes, it will equal out. So that's not so bad.
so we are still technically sort of in second gear.
But we're not in gear because when I turn that, we don't get the final drive.
Yes, because we are in neutral.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we're in mid gear on that. So there's no final drive. So
yeah. So in theory, second gear clutch is bound or semi-bound. Looking
Yeah.
at that. So that will be locked up, so which is why we can spin it, but the
that-
sprockets aren't turning.
But that's also potentially a good thing, that if that is semi-engaged and it's turning, it means that inside the box it's turning.
Yes, but it could also mean that the second clutch is stuck in position.
I don't want to take this apart.
But I've got one bolt left, so...
That's all right. As you said in one of the previous ones, you know a guy.
I know a guy who's taken one of these apart before and kindly has volunteered to do a full restoration on this entire locomotive.
He said how easy it
Part of
was.
the deal.
You didn't read the small print.
There was print.
Yes, invisibly.
Yeah.
Put it in the oven, you'll see what you signed up for.
I'd probably be inclined to gas the horizontal bar by getting there, blow it both out. This can be then removed, and then we can then drive out the shafts out.
Okay.
Hopefully without breaking.
Well, I was going to go and fill it up with diesel on the ends now
That'd be a good idea.
and see if we can get some movement in that. Oh, this boat stayed.
Yeah, the two at the top should be studs and the bottom two are bolts. The studs should be on the housing, yeah. Yeah. Well, they can either be bolts or studs, it doesn't really matter. Depends on how
We've made this so much smaller. I like this though. I do like this.
I think that's a good idea. There are a couple that do have it. The welding is questionable, but
It's better on the side.
filler and paint makes me the welder I ain't.
Hey, you stole that off of me.
No, I stole it off Mr. Hughes.
I'll go put the lubrication into this. Tom didn't get all the rubbish out of it. That's very disappointing.
You fired, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
I'm sure Tom will be glad to know that all of his hard work has been well appreciated.
All I had to do now was not break the final stud.
I was scared. I could feel the tension there of everybody being like, oh no. We've undone things. Teamwork.
I'll get that out.
Yeah, break it, that'd be a good way to do it.
It's been Alfie in, has it?
You may now take the ritual that Alfie has done many times of having to hammer the thing back out again. That's the sort of guerrilla attitude we were expecting.
Socket recovered, I tried a more direct approach, which went well.
There are moments like when you've got it like this and you see the gearbox, you can see it really is a narrow gauge 48. The gearbox sits there with the frames and then they've just tacked some outriggers on it to make it standard gauge. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's just, you can see it as a narrow gauge engine. That's why I like it, because it's stupid. Anyway, we're going to try and lift this and expose the innards of the black magic that is known as Three Epicyclic Gearbox thing? Clutch pack. That thing. Gearbox.
That thing that makes the forwardy backwardy possible with the motion.
We might see the forwardy backwardy, but what we're actually looking for is the change of gearing.
Which is required for the forwardy backwardy as well.
It is, and hopefully to see, this is so far we've been quite excited that the gearbox works, but when we took this off, this is looking unpleasant. Hopefully this isn't the end of the world, hopefully, but that's the worst thing. And as I've mentioned before, the thing I'm most worried about is the gearbox. Because the engine, everything's available, and it's an engine, it's not that complicated at the end of the day, whereas the gearbox is scary, scary stuff.
Yeah.
And Jay has rebuilt this his gearbox and swore that he'd never touch another one. So I'm amazed.
So here he is.
I'm amazed we got him this close. Also, do you like the authentic Ruston Hornsby gearbox lifting thing?
Patent pending.
In order to lift the lid, though, there was still one thing that had to come off, and that meant I had to go underneath.
Hi, Lawrie.
Hi.
You right down there?
Loving it.
Okay.
Happy? Contact.
Oh, that's...
Mildly moist. Mind your arms.
Yep, we're good.
That's all. That shall help. That's it. I got it.
I'll tell you why the handbrake doesn't work.
It's resting on it.
No, it's because it's rust. It's swelled. But it's all bad.
That's all got to come out.
With the end cover off so we could see the end shaft, it was time to see if anything was actually turning inside the gearbox when the input drive was spun.
We got drive! We have drive!
We have drive.
We have drive!
Sprockets are going round.
Yes!
Nice. We're in neutral. They shouldn't.
We are clearly not, because we have drive.
It works!
Spins. Spinning round.
A good start.
Excited by the concept that the spinny bits were actually spinning, we were anxious to take the lid off the gearbox and take a gander at the mechanical gubbins inside. So we sent Jay to go acquire a lifting thing, and he came back with the railway's forklift, where I, being the professional that I am, showed everybody how you're meant to use chains to connect a forklift to a lifting beam, and didn't require any assistance at all. Once Jay had shown us how to use his lifting beam, we were ready to attempt to lift the lid. It became clear that the gearbox wasn't going to give up its prize and display its innards without a little bit of good old percussive persuadance. To which I happily obliged. However, the gearbox was a stubborn old thing, and despite my best efforts, nothing appeared to move. So we concluded the best thing we could do would be to try lifting it again and put a bit of tension on it, and employ even more percussive persuadance.
He's coming. Yeah, that's it. That was me. You all right? Yep.
With the lid off and safely resting on the frames, we could dive in and have our first real look at the inner workings of an epicyclic gearbox. And this was genuinely quite exciting because all in all, it didn't look too bad.
So how does this work? I don't understand.
You think of a modern automatic car, you've got, or a forklift, you've got clutch packs. So what happens is you've got steel, friction material, steel, but multiple plates, wet pack plates, and when you apply oil pressure to the pack, it grabs it and that grabs a gear. This is the same concept, but you're using mechanical leverage to physically, these are your selectors, to physically push this into a direction, and it will either grab first, second or third clutch. So you've got first and second on one and third on the other one. So you've got 3 clutches in there and 2 steel plates between them.
I understood the system of the separate clutches and stuff. I kind of was expecting 3 separate mechanisms. I didn't realise it was all like one thing.
No, it's all one thing. So that the physical lever sits on here, and inside there's like a dog leg, 2 like cams effectively. One's got first and second and third. That's what the big springs are in the top, and you can adjust the tension that pulling the plunger does, so you can go more pressure or less pressure. So as they wear, you have to sometimes keep adding pressure, because obviously the friction material will wear down. It's just like adjusting a clutch pedal. You've just got to put a little bit more on. But obviously it was stuck in second gear on the plunger, which it looks like it is, because this gap is quite large. So the only way to really tell would be to try and flick it, try and put that back to neutral.
So that would be pushing that way, would it?
Yeah, that'll probably be, this is probably stuck in second, so there'll be first and second, and that one will be third. So that is stuck in second at the moment. But looking in here, one of the clutches looks quite thin. So if you look, these inspection ports here, you can see that there's a clutch. So you can see the steel band, you've got a clutch material either side of it, and then you can see this one's a steel band.
So that's a lot chunkier.
Yeah.
So that is looking thin.
That one looks all right, but you see on this side of the steel band, it's quite thin.
I can't see that at all, but I'm in the wrong place.
So see it?
No, I can't still. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it should be something like, for argument's sake, 3 or 4 mil thick, the friction material. The one looks about right, the other one looks about 2 mil. But it might not be the end of the world. It might just mean we've just got to set it back to neutral, clean it within an inch of its life.
Do I have to disassemble this?
To change the clutches, yes. Everything else, no.
Cool. How much of a pain in the backside was it to do a clutch? Because that's what died on yours, right?
Yes, clutches had gone on. My third gear had disintegrated. Nothing left of it on the one face. See here how it is slightly purple. It's got warm. So
because it had been overused, but no doubt.
It does look like that they've just literally just sent it straight into third gear from a standing start, which is just
That's probably what they were doing.
excessive wear on the clutch.
I mean, because that's what it was, wasn't it? It was for not necessarily the most skilled workers and simple operations. The joy of the 48.
That's the fastest gear. Let's just put it in. It goes. Yeah. So,
do you know what I'm really surprised about? The fact you have the single drain for this, yet there are separate compartments that don't all interlink.
there are 2 drains.
Oh, there.
There are 2 sump plugs.
There's the drain on the front for the final drive.
Yep, and there's also one right at the back.
Yes,
here.
so I've drained both of those. But I'm surprised with all these different interlinking bits. Do they all drain together, or are they separate?
There should be a between this lump here. There should be a hole, so that should, in theory, drain to it. I imagine it's probably blocked. Looking at that, that should all drain into the final drive.
So how? I've obviously got the pipe that comes off the side that then should balance with my forward gearbox.
The pipe hole is literally there.
Cool.
You can see it there.
When it's running, I thought it was meant to lift and throw oil up into the front. But I can't see any way that makes sense for that to work.
It doesn't. So before you start this up, you need to shut the pipe. Shut
Yes,
the tap.
because you should. When you turn it off, you leave it
Open.
open, so it will balance, and then before you start operating, it should shut.
Yeah. So there is always the same, in theory, the same level of oil in both gearboxes. If you leave the tap open when you start it, all the oil runs to the front gearbox and basically sort of like hydrolocks it, so you can't select a direction. It's a dog clutch, a dog gear.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to bounce it on the clutches on the
You've just got to turn it
to get it in. Yeah,
because it's literally two teeth, and they either go in
or they don't.
But with oil in there, obviously you can't compress a liquid, so it just doesn't move. So it's just a bit of a old-fashioned design.
So the next question is, why doesn't this move? Probably because it's seized somewhere.
We're looking at all that crust around there.
So that's probably it. So we need to soak that, but that's fine.
Yeah, we're scraping and soaking, but we can bail a load of diesel now into there.
That's my plan. Yes, is to fill them both up to the top with diesel and then soak. Although this one I'm not so worried about.
This doesn't look bad.
I mean, I don't think there's any problems with filling with diesel to give it a soak and a clean.
No.
But this is good.
It is good because there's nothing bright orange and rusty that we can see.
There's a couple of bits on the teeth into the front drive, but we know that was for the front. This had. Oh, that's where it'd be sat down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be sat in the water. There's the water level.
Yeah, we could see. We knew it was sat there.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So it needs. We wash it through.
Wire wheel it clean.
Yeah.
Paraffin and just keep cleaning it with paraffin and diesel because it wants to be
Am I worried about getting stuff into the clutches? Or just wash it through afterwards?
I'd probably recommend if you can get a paraffin gun on an airline and we literally just blast it all clean.
It's going to sound stupid. It's a paraffin gun.
Paraffin gun. So you think of like a spray gun.
Yeah.
So instead of putting paint in it, you put paraffin in it.
That's cool. I want one.
High pressure.
So it's like pressure washer but paraffin.
Yeah.
Cool.
Airline, probably only about a litre of paraffin in, and it makes a lot of fumes.
Obviously.
But it's good.
That's
not bad. That'll be alright.
That's actually most of it brushed off.
Yeah. This is just like a shim. There is quite a lot of movement in that.
Should there be?
Should be a little bit of wiggle, but
is that excessive?
It's not dreadful. Obviously, because it's such an old thing, it was all drawn with pencil and graph paper.
How did you even start it? Like, I can kind of today when you can do 3D design.
Yeah.
And you can see each thing, but they had to be so clever to.
They had to work out the gear ratios and just designing the castings. It's just a marvel of engineering. It really is.
Is it a mechanical marvel?
It could very well be.
It's a Lawrie's mechanical marvel. We've never done that on the channel before. That's the first time that has come up, and I'm very happy with it.
But it is. It's just looking at. These are all machined. They'll still see the machining marks from the day they were done. And, obviously this is all one cast piece. This is cast iron housing. Someone had to draw it, make the mould, cast it, test it, and then they used the same gearbox for over 45 years, didn't they?
Yeah, because it was on so many things, wasn't it? Like you've got on the DSs, the DLs, a whole variety of smaller engine things.
Yeah, the small 20 DLs had them as well. Quite a lot of things.
I can't believe how good it looks. It's an amazing discovery to pull it off and be like, it's how it should be.
Yeah.
And this was the thing I was most worried about, was the state of the gearbox, and it's pleasant surprise.
Yes, it's not terrible. It won't need an extensive restoration so far. I have to keep saying so far.
Yeah, because if not, we'll come back and say, well, your expert said in episode 3 it was fine.
Exactly.
I'm actually really happy with this. Like, really happy with it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with any of the teeth. Usually, to be fair, there's nothing going to be wrong with these because they're constantly going around. There's a little bit of wear on the ends here where they've flayed a little bit, but
I do not care about that. They look fine.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing that is a little bit is the lack of lubrication into there, but we can sort that.
But we're going to sort that now.
We can sort that. We'll try prying this to try and reset it back into neutral.
If we do that, do we need to then reset that pin up there? Because will that then meet the dogs in the wrong place?
It probably will actually, yeah.
So should we leave it
This will need some attention, though. The actual physical lid will need quite a bit of attention.
because they're rust welded into there now, they swallow.
Yeah, the best thing to do to that is do what we've done like this today, is just physically take this off, put it on its side or upside down and just strip it. That'll need a bit of work. It's a few days worth of work.
That's fine, I kind of vaguely understand what that does. This is all just magic.
Yeah.
Being pleasantly surprised with the condition of the inner gubbins of the gearbox, it was time to reunite the two halves back together again to keep the worst of the weather away from its inner pieces, and then fill it up with diesel to allow things to soak. And then it's time to look at 294-266. Part of the plan of the series has always been to look after both Rustons, so today I'm here at the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway with my painted wheel set to give them a final coat of paint before the big swap happens. The painted wheel set that had come out of 393-303 had been kindly transported down to the railway by my friends Neil and Nigel. My first stage before I could put a new coat of paint on them was to give them a rub down with some paraffin to get rid of any grease or impurities on there to try and make sure that my next coat would stay on and be relatively nice. Obviously, it's a lot easier to paint wheels when they're outside the locomotive and you don't have frames, brakes and other gubbins to get in your way. And certainly after all this time, I didn't want to put Sir William back down on ready wheels. That would just be weird. So soon, I was ready to grab some paint and start work. The observant amongst you will notice that I'm in fact not painting this on with a brush like we did with the undercoat on the wheels. And the reason for using spray can, although it's not authentic, was for the aspect of time. This was so much quicker and easier to get a coat of black onto the wheels. At the time of filming this bit, the lift was imminent and I just did not have the time to sit there and put a coat on with a rush. This is quicker, it's easier, and quite frankly, the finish you get with a spray can is far superior. There are no brush strokes, there are no lines, and there are minimal runs. It's just that much better. And I'm fully aware that one coat will be insufficient to protect these wheels, and at some point in the not too distant future, I'll need to apply another couple of coats to the wheels. But right now, my priority was just to get some paint on. I'd waited too long to do this swap of wheels to have them not in an acceptable state to go underneath the locomotive. All that really mattered was they looked the part, and I wasn't going to have to clamber underneath it in the too immediate future. And just like that, I'd gone through a dozen rattle cans, and the wheels were looking very much the part, ready for the big swap. And I was feeling rather chuffed with myself, and couldn't quite believe that we were almost several years into the project, ready to do this swap.
So it's not done, but it is a first coat of black on. Realistically, I want another couple of coats once they're installed, but at least it just means going into the thing that they at least look kind of done rather than just sitting here in primer like they have for a while.
So join us next time on the Locomotive Diaries when this machine turns up to lift Sir William the Cowpine skyward and enact a plan that was some 2.5 years in the making, and something that would not have happened without you guys helping out. And I tell you, it's a really exciting moment just here when we pick up the thing. So we'll see you next time. If you have enjoyed this, how about clicking somewhere over there for a previous episode of the Loco Diaries, down there for the Ruston doing its thing, or over there for something completely unrelated but something to do with trains. Thank you all very much for watching, and of course, we'll see you next time. Ta-ra!